The moment my front door swung open and I saw my twin sister standing there, shaking, bleeding, half collapsed against the frame, I swear the world tilted. Oh my God, Maya. I grabbed her before she hit the ground. Her lip was split, one eye swollen shut. Finger-shaped bruises ran along her arms like someone had gripped her hard enough to crush bone. And the worst part wasn't the injuries. It was the look in her eyes, a hollow, frightened emptiness I had never seen in my sister, the girl who once laughed louder than anyone, who danced barefoot in our mother's kitchen with cornbread in the oven and joy in her shoulders. When I pulled her into the living room, she flinched at the sound of me closing the door. She actually braced for impact. My Maya, who had always been the brave one. "Who did this to you?" I asked, even though deep down, before she even opened her mouth, I already knew. "It was Andre," she whispered, voice barely more than breath. "Her husband. The man we'd welcomed into our family. The man who promised to protect her, love her, built a life with her. The man I had defended more times than I could count whenever cousins whispered that something about him felt off. Now here she was, trembling in my arms, her beautiful dark skin marred by patches of violence. "And that's not all," she said, pulling an envelope from her bag with shaking fingers. Inside were papers, bank statements, forged signatures, loans I never applied for, my name at the top, my information used, my credit destroyed. Maya's voice broke as she said, "He didn't just hurt me, Nia. He stole from you too." I stared at the papers, my throat closing. This wasn't just abuse, it was betrayal, deep, calculated, targeted. "Why would he come after me?" I asked, stumbling over the question because none of it made sense. Maya wiped a tear and whispered, "Because he thought ruining you would isolate me, make me depend on him. But when he realized I wasn't breaking fast enough, he got worse." She sobbed then, her whole body folding inward, like she was apologizing for something that wasn't her fault. I pulled her close, heart pounding so hard my chest hurt. I kept seeing red, first from rage, then from fear, then from the overwhelming certainty that someone was going to pay for this. I didn't stay silent. I didn't stay calm. I didn't start rationalizing like I normally do. Instead, I stood up, pacing, running my hands through my hair as every possible solution stormed through my mind. The police? She had no visible evidence from before today because he'd always hit her where clothes would cover it. A restraining order? He'd ignore it. Confront him directly? He'd lie, manipulate, twist, and gaslight until we were the ones apologizing. But there was something else. Something Maya and I had joked about 1,000 times growing up. Our advantage. Our secret strength. We were identical. Down to the mole beneath our chin, the curl pattern of our hair, the shape of our noses. Sometimes even our own boyfriends mix us up if we dress too similarly. If we wanted to switch places, no one, not even someone who lived with her, could tell the difference unless they were looking for scars or counting birthmarks. I knelt in front of her and held her hands. "Maya, what if we turn this around on him?" She blinked. "What do you mean?" "What if I switch places? What if I go back to that house pretending to be you, just long enough to catch him, record him, get him to confess? We could expose everything he's done, the abuse, the financial fraud, all of it." Her eyes widened with horror. "No, Nia, he's dangerous. You don't know what he's capable of." "No," I said firmly. "You don't know what I'm capable of when someone hurts my family." The room went quiet, heavy with all the unsaid fears between us. I knew what I was suggesting was reckless, maybe even stupid, but nothing else would work. Men like Andre didn't stop until someone forced them to, and I was ready to force him. I helped Maya wash her face and gave her one of my shirts, the oversized navy blue one we used to fight over in college. As she changed, she watched me closely, her swollen eye narrowing as realization set in. "You're serious," she whispered. "Dead serious." "But you don't understand. He's paranoid. He watches everything I do. If you make one wrong move—" "I won't," I assured her. "You forget.
I've been watching him too, from the sidelines, from the shadows, long enough to know exactly how he thinks he can get away with this. Her breath shook. Nia, he could kill you. Not if I get him first. The silence that followed was thick, heavy. My sister clutched her hands together like she was praying for a different answer, but there wasn't one. There was truth, and there was survival. And right now, survival meant becoming her shadow, stepping into her life for just long enough to expose the monster she married. Finally, Maya nodded, tears streaming down her bruised face. "Okay," she whispered. "But if we're doing this, we're doing it smart." "We will," I promised. "Tomorrow morning, you stay here. I'll go to your house. I'll be you for as long as it takes." She inhaled sharply. "Nia, you don't know what that house feels like. The fear, the silence, the way he watches you from down the hallway." I met her gaze. "Then let him watch, because this time he'll be watching the wrong sister." But even as I said it, even as the fire of determination burned through my veins, the truth hit me. Stepping into Maya's life meant stepping into her danger, into her bruises, into her fear. There was no guarantee I'd make it out unhurt. And still, I was going to do it. For her. For me. For every woman who had ever whispered, "He only hits me because I made him mad." Maya squeezed my hand, trembling. "Promise me you'll be careful?" "I promise." But as I walked into my bedroom to prepare, changing into her clothes, mimicking her posture, practicing her softer tone, I didn't feel careful. I felt like a fuse had been lit, and it was only a matter of time before everything exploded. The real terror didn't hit until the moment I looked in the mirror and saw her reflection staring back at me, because in that second, I heard a car door slam outside, and it wasn't mine. It wasn't hers. It was his. The sound of that car door echoing outside froze me mid-breath. For a moment, I couldn't even swallow. My heartbeat thudded so loudly it drowned out every other sound, like my own body was warning me. Run, hide, something. But I forced myself to exhale slowly, remembering why I was doing this. I glanced toward the living room, where Maya had curled into herself on the couch, her good eye widening as she heard it too. "That's him," she whispered, voice cracking. And just like that, everything in me shifted. I wasn't the scared sister anymore. I wasn't the trembling bystander watching her break. I straightened my shoulders, squared my stance, and felt my anger harden into something sharp and steady. "Go to the back room," I whispered. "Lock the door. Don't make a sound." "Nia!" "Now!" She didn't argue. She moved fast despite her injuries, disappearing down the hallway. I stepped into the doorway of my bedroom, where I could see the front door but stay out of sight. My pulse pounded like warning bells inside my chest. The doorknob jiggled, hard. Then came a deep male voice through the wood. "Maya, open this door right now." Just hearing him shout her name like that made my fists clench. He didn't sound worried or apologetic. He sounded irritated, entitled, like she had inconvenienced him by escaping his violence. I stayed perfectly silent. He pounded again. "I know you're in there. You think you can run to your sister's house and hide? Open this damn door." My jaw tightened. He wasn't supposed to show up tonight. Maya said he'd be at work until morning. Another lie he'd told her, just to keep her guessing. I peeked through the blinds. His truck sat crookedly across my driveway, engine still running, headlights cutting across the front lawn like a spotlight searching for prey. He kept banging. "You better not make me break this door down." I slipped deeper into the shadows of the hallway, breath steadying. I couldn't open that door.
not with sister's bruises still fresh in my eyes, not with anger sitting behind his voice like a coiled spring, and not tonight when I wasn't yet prepared to pretend to be her. So I waited. He jiggled the doorknob again, more urgently, then stepped back and stomped across the porch. Fine, stay here, but tomorrow when you come home, you're going to explain yourself. Running off like a crazy woman. You don't walk out on me. I rolled my eyes so hard it hurt. If he wasn't such a pathetic, it would be pathetic. The engine revved louder. I stayed still until the truck backed out of the driveway, then disappeared down the street. Only when the rumble faded completely did I let out the breath I'd been holding. Maya crept from the hallway, gripping the door frame like she might collapse. He came here, she whispered, her voice barely audible. I wrapped my arms around her. He's not getting near you again. But she wasn't reassured. Her hands shook as she pulled away. Nia, you don't know him like I do. He's not just angry. He's obsessive. He'll stalk the street if he has to. He'll drive by your job. He'll track your phone. He'll do anything to keep control. Good, I said calmly. Let him keep watching, because I'm going to give him something to see. She stared at me with that same look from childhood, half fear, half awe, like she knew I was about to do something irreversible. You can't go tomorrow, she said. Not after this. He'll be suspicious. That's exactly why I have to. I sat her down, grabbed her hands, and spoke low, steady, certain. Tomorrow morning, I go to your house pretending to be you. I'll act scared, quiet, apologetic. I'll make him think he's in control. He won't suspect anything. He's too arrogant. Men like him always think they know what's going on, even when they don't. She shook her head slowly. But what if he hits you? I lifted my chin. Then he's going to jail. And I'll make sure the evidence is impossible to ignore. She swallowed hard, eyes glassy. I don't want him to hurt you, Nia. I couldn't live with that. I cupped her face gently. He's hurt you for years. Let me carry this part. We spent the rest of the night preparing. I practiced her voice, softer, breathier, edges rounded from years of trying not to trigger him. I changed into the kind of clothes she wore around him, neutral, simple, nothing he'd call attention-seeking. I wrapped one of her scarves around my hair, matching her routine. We went over details, what time he snored, what phrases he used when he was suspicious, where he kept his important documents, how he reacted when angry. The more she spoke, the more furious I became. He didn't just hit her. He timed his blows so she couldn't go to work with visible marks. He took her phone at night. He controlled her access to the car. He monitored her spending like she was a child. He isolated her from friends, and all the while he pretended to be a good family man, the kind who shook hands too tight and smiled too wide. By the time dawn approached, I wasn't scared anymore. I was ready. Right before sunrise, Maya pulled out a small black device, one she'd hidden from him. A voice recorder, she said. Just be careful with it. He can't know you have it. I tucked it into my bra strap, hidden but accessible. As the sky shifted from charcoal to navy, I grabbed Maya's keys. She gripped my wrist. If anything feels wrong, anything, you leave. Don't risk yourself for me. I hugged her tightly, smelling the faint scent of lavender oil in her hair. I'm not risking myself, I whispered. I'm taking back what he stole from both of us. I stepped outside, locking the door behind me. The morning air was cold, sharp, biting. I climbed into her car and adjusted the seat to her height. My hands shook, not from fear, but from adrenaline.
As I pulled out of the driveway, heading toward the house where she'd been living her private hell, something buzzed in her cup holder. Her phone. A text lit up the screen from Andre. "Where the hell are you?" Then another. "You better be home when I get there." I stared at the messages, breath catching. Home. He wasn't at work. He was on his way. And I was driving straight into him.
The closer I got to Maya's house, the tighter my grip became on the steering wheel. Every mile felt like a countdown, like each streetlight I passed was marking time until impact. His text kept buzzing through the quiet car, lighting up the screen with that same aggressive tone Maya had lived under for years. "Answer me. I'm not playing with you, Maya. You better fix your attitude before I get home." I swallowed hard, trying to push down the rising heat in my chest. That wasn't fear. That was rage. Steady, dangerous, pulsing through me in slow waves. I kept breathing deliberately, knowing that when I crossed that threshold, anger wouldn't save me. Performance would. As the neighborhood came into view, I noticed details I'd never paid attention to when dropping Maya off over the years. The houses were close together, but the street was quiet, eerily so. Curtains drawn, cars parked crookedly like people were exhausted from holding their own secrets. I imagined how many doors hid women just like Maya, breathing quietly so the beast inside their home wouldn't wake. Her house sat at the end of the cul-de-sac, a beige two-story with peeling paint near the gutters and blinds cracked from being yanked open too hard. It always looked normal from the outside, safe even, but now as I pulled into the driveway, it felt like a trap, a place where hope had been strangled out of the air. And Andre's truck was already there. My heart gave a violent kick. I froze with my foot hovering over the brake, breath held tight in my throat. He wasn't supposed to be home yet, but the engine of his truck was off, the frost on the windows half melted, meaning he hadn't been there long. I forced myself to park exactly the way Maya would, slightly crooked, tires turned inward. Every detail mattered. Every second mattered. Before I opened the car door, I closed my eyes and repeated the plan in my head. Stay quiet, stay soft, stay afraid. That's who he expected. That's who he believed he had shaped her into. As long as I became her shadow, he wouldn't notice the difference. I stepped out of the car. The cold morning air slapped me instantly, making my breath visible. The house felt bigger than I remembered, more intimidating. The curtains stared like judging eyes. The screen door cracked open. Andre stood there. And for a split second, I understood why Maya had lost pieces of herself under his gaze. He didn't look angry at first. He looked smug. That was worse. His eyes slid over me, thinking I was her, like I was his possession returning home after being misplaced. His shoulders rolled back, chin lifted slightly, as if he was preparing to scold a child instead of speak to a grown woman. "Well," he drawled, leaning on the doorframe, "look who finally decided to come home." My chest tightened, but I kept my face lowered. That's what Maya said he liked. Submissive posture, no eye contact unless he demanded it. "I'm sorry," I whispered, keeping my voice shaky the way she taught me. I just needed some air." "Air? You needed air, huh? So you ran crying to your sister again?" I kept my breathing even. The recorder sat safely against my skin, tucked under my bra. His voice was being captured with every cruel syllable. He stepped closer, forcing me backward until the doorframe dug into my spine. His breath smelled faintly of stale coffee and something bitter, resentment maybe. His height eclipsed the doorway, turning the morning light into a shadow behind him. "You think you can just walk out and I won't come find you?" I didn't answer. Maya said silence made him more predictable. He liked filling the quiet with his own assumptions. Andre studied my face, eyes narrowing as if searching for guilt. "What happened to your lip?" he asked. My stomach almost dropped. I forgot Maya had the split lip, not me.
I turned slightly away, covering my mouth with my sleeve. I fell at Nia's house. Of course you did. Clumsy as hell. I let my shoulders sag, mimicking Maya's defeated posture, the way she had learned to shrink herself to make space for his cruelty. It hurt to perform it. Hurt because she had lived it. He grabbed my wrist suddenly, fingers digging into the skin. I fought the urge to react. "Where's your phone?" he demanded. In my bag," I whispered. "Give it to me." I handed it over. He didn't even check if I hesitated. He just snatched it like he had the right. "Next time you decide to run off, you tell me first. I don't like being disrespected." I nodded meekly, my stomach turning. He glanced toward the driveway, as if scanning for my car. Well, Maya's car. "Did Nia say anything?" he asked sharply. "No," I whispered. She just let me sleep." He grunted, as if accepting that answer. Good. Every second he believed I was her meant he wasn't looking closely at my face, my stance, my intentions. He stepped aside, jerking his chin for me to go inside. "Get in the house. We need to talk." The moment I crossed the threshold, a strange heaviness wrapped around me, like the air itself was thick with old pain. The living room was cleaner than usual, too clean, like he'd wiped it down after throwing something. A faint crack on the wall near the lamp caught my eye. He closed the door with a slow, deliberate click. Then he said, "You really pissed me off last night, Maya." I let the silence hang. My fists curled behind my back. "You embarrassed me," he continued. "Women like you should know better." Women like you. I could practically hear the venom Maya had been swallowing for years. He walked around me in a slow circle, like a predator assessing a wounded animal. "So let's talk about your little disappearing act. What gave you the nerve to leave my house without permission?" Every part of me wanted to stand tall, look him in the face, and tell him exactly what nerve I had. But that wasn't the mission. I was scared," I whispered. "Scared?" he repeated with another laugh. "Scared of what? I never hit you that hard. You act like I'm some kind of monster." The recorder in my bra vibrated slightly every time he raised his voice. Evidence. Every word mattered. He leaned closer. "Tell me why you ran." My breath stuttered. I just needed space." Wrong answer. His hand slammed onto the table beside me, making a glass fall and roll across the surface. I flinched. Maya said he loved when he flinched. It reassured him he still had control. That's when his expression changed. Suspicion flickered across his eyes like a shadow. "You're acting weird," he muttered. "Something's off." My pulse spiked. He grabbed my chin suddenly, tilting my face toward the light. My heart hammered so hard I thought he'd feel it through my skin. "What's different about you?" he demanded. I said nothing. I didn't breathe. Then his eyes widened, not with realization, but with anger. "You smell like her house. You've been crying to your sister again?" Relief hit me like a wave. He wasn't suspecting the truth. He was projecting his usual paranoia onto Maya. Good. But then he said something that made my blood turn cold. "You think I don't know what you and Nia say about me? You think I don't hear things? You think I won't shut both of you up if you try something?" "Both of us. Both." He stepped closer. Too close. "So what really happened last night? Because I don't believe you." His eyes bored into mine. Then he said the words that froze every muscle in my body.
For a split second, I forgot how to breathe. His demand, "Let me see your arms," wasn't really a request. It was a command dipped in suspicion, sharpened by years of control. Maya had warned me he checked her arms sometimes, the same way someone might inspect a product for defects, making sure she wasn't hiding anything. Or anyone. I could almost feel her bruises on my own skin. Faint yellowing marks on her forearms, tiny fingerprints, blotches she'd tried to hide with makeup. But I didn't have those. Not today. And if he saw clean skin where he expected pain, that would be it. The whole plan would crumble. He'd know something was off, and a man like Andre didn't get suspicious quietly. He stepped closer. Too close, that familiar scent of his souring the air around me. "What you waiting for?" he barked. "Move your hands." I swallowed and forced a tremble into my voice. "Andre, I don't feel good. Arms," he snapped, his voice mirroring the slap Maya probably flinched from for years. Slowly, deliberately, I lifted my sleeves. Only halfway, enough to make it look like I was hesitant, scared. His gaze dropped to my bare forearms. My smooth, unmarked skin. I held my breath. He stared for a tense second, then scoffed. "Cover those up. Nobody wants to see all that." His tone dripped with disgust, not suspicion. Relief slid through me so fast my knees almost buckled. But he didn't move away. Instead, he leaned in, eyes narrowing with a different kind of scrutiny. "Why are you shaking so much? You were calmer last night. You trying to hide something?" His voice raked across my nerves like sandpaper. I looked down at the carpet, letting my shoulders fold inward, Maya's signature defensive posture. "I'm just tired," I whispered. "Tired?" he repeated. "From what? Running around? Lying?" He began pacing around me again, dragging tension across the room like a heavy curtain. "You women always think you can run wild until a man puts his foot down." I let him circle me, memorizing his movements, his tone, the way anger simmered under his skin like a boiler ready to burst. Every detail added to the recording, every word another nail in his coffin. He stepped closer, too close, that familiar scent of his souring the air around me. "So what you tell me again about your sister?" he asked. His voice tightened with impatience. "Nothing," I said quietly. "Don't lie to me." His hand clamped down on my shoulder. Too tight, too sudden. My breath hitched, not just from the pain, but from the shock of how easily he molded violence into casual gestures. He squeezed, testing me, testing her. "You look different," he muttered near my ear. "Something in your eyes." I stared at the floor, letting silence cloak me. He released my shoulder abruptly, as if bored. "Fix me breakfast." Breakfast? My thoughts scrambled. What did Maya make him? Did she eat with him? Did he like things a certain way? "You deaf now?" he snapped. "Go make my food." I nodded and walked toward the kitchen, fighting the instinct to roll my eyes hard enough to tear something. Once inside the narrow space, I exhaled shakily. The kitchen smelled like old grease and tension, counters wiped clean, but the air heavy with unspoken apologies. I searched my memory. Maya said he expected food on command. Eggs scrambled a certain way, toast with barely any butter, bacon crisp but never burned. I scanned the fridge. Bacon, eggs, bread. Good. I cracked the eggs into a bowl, keeping my hands purposely shaky. But as the yellow yolks swirled, I caught sight of something on the counter. A small stack of papers held under a coffee mug. Curiosity tugged at me. I slid them out just enough to read. Loan applications, credit cards, bank forms, all in my name, all signed with a shaky attempt at my handwriting. My throat tightened. He wasn't just targeting Maya. He was planning something deeper, something bigger, something that had my name stamped on it like a warning. I slipped one paper into my pocket while pretending to check the stove temperature. Evidence. Behind me, I heard heavy footsteps. He walked into the kitchen watching me like he owned the air I breathed.
Why you moving so slow?" I'm almost done," I whispered. He stepped closer. Too close. The pan sizzled in front of me but felt miles away. "Look at me," he said. I turned, raising my head slightly, but not too much. His eyes narrowed. "You've been crying." "I'm okay." "You lying again?" He reached out, thumb brushing under my eye as if checking for tears. The gesture would have seemed tender to someone blind to the truth, but the pressure behind it sent a cold shiver down my spine. He leaned in. "If you ever walk out on me again," he murmured, "I'll make sure you remember your place. You hear me?" The recording against my skin vibrated with his voice. I nodded. He released my shoulder abruptly, as if bored. "Fix me breakfast." I finished his food and set the plate on the table. The moment he sat down, I placed the fork near him, exactly how Maya described. He ate with the arrogance of a man who believed breakfast was owed, not earned. He didn't look up when he said, "After this, we're going to talk about your sister." My stomach dropped. He chewed slowly, deliberately. "You think she better than me? You think she gonna save you from your own marriage?" He stabbed his fork into the eggs. "I'll deal with her too." My blood go cold. He wasn't just angry, he was planning something. He wiped his mouth with the back of his hand and said flatly, "We're going to your sister's house tonight." I froze. He wasn't asking. He wasn't suggesting. He was planning to show up at my home where Maya was hiding. But then he added something that turned my blood to ice. "And when we get there, you're going to make her tell me where she hid the money." "Money?" I blinked. What money?" I whispered, staying in character. His eyes snapped up, sharp and suspicious. "Oh, you know damn well what I'm talking about," he growled. "The money your sister stole from me? The money she thinks I'm too stupid to notice is missing?" My heart thundered in my chest. He thought I stole money. He thought Maya hid it. This wasn't just about control. He was spiraling, making up crimes to justify his cruelty. Tonight. He wanted to go tonight. Maya wasn't safe. I had to think fast. I had to stall him. But before I could speak, he slammed his hand on the table, rattling the dishes. No more lying, no more running. He stood up, towering over me. "After I finish eating, we're going to go to your sister's house." Then he lowered his voice to a chilling whisper. "And if she's there, I'll make both of you pay." The plate shook on the table. My pulse hammered. I forced myself to nod slowly, carefully. But inside, I was already planning the fastest way to burn his entire world down. Because I wasn't letting him within 10 feet of my sister. Not ever again. But as I stepped back, I noticed something that made my breath catch. His phone screen lit up on the table. A message preview popped up. A message from someone named Lydia. It read, "Did you get rid of her yet?" My blood ran cold. I forced myself to stop pacing and sit perfectly still on the couch, legs crossed the way Maya usually sat, hands tucked between my knees. Every detail mattered now. One wrong gesture, one wrong expression, and Dev would know I wasn't her. When I heard his footsteps outside the door, heavy, irritated, careless, my stomach tightened. I had imagined this moment 100 different ways, but none of them prepared me for the real thing. The lock clicked. He stepped inside, dropping his keys on the counter and rubbing the back of his neck like he'd had a long day. He didn't even look shaken, didn't even seem aware of the bruises he'd left on her skin the night before. "Why are you sitting there like that?" he muttered, not even glancing at me properly yet. "Perfect.
He wasn't paying attention. I lowered my voice and turned my face slightly away. Maya always did that around him. "Just tired," I whispered. He walked closer, close enough that I could smell the cologne Maya used to say she liked but actually hated. His hand reached out, maybe to grab my arm, maybe to pull my chin up, maybe just to test if I'd flinch. I didn't. Instead, I tilted my head up slowly and gave him a smile I had practiced in the mirror. A smile that wasn't afraid. His brows knit together. "What's with that look?" "Nothing," I said softly. "Just thinking." "About what?" I stood, letting the silence thicken, letting him feel me watching him. Not the way Maya watched him, with fear, but the way a predator studies a threat. He shifted his weight. Something flickered in his eyes. Confusion, unease, the very first hint of doubt. Good. I stepped closer, just enough for him to step back without realizing he'd done it. "About you," I said, and the way I said it made him freeze. The first crack, the first fracture in his control. Now he knew something was different, and that was exactly what I wanted. For the first time since he stepped through the door, Dev really looked at me. Not glanced, not scanned, looked. His eyes narrowed slightly, as though he were trying to decode an expression he'd never seen on Maya's face before. The longer he stared, the more uneasy he became. Good. I tilted my head the way Maya never dared, letting him meet my gaze fully. "Why are you standing so far away?" I asked, my voice calm, almost amused. He swallowed. I'm not." But he was. Without noticing, he had taken a full step back. His heel brushed against the edge of the coffee table, and he steadied himself. My smile stayed where it was, soft, harmless, deadly. "You're acting weird," he said, trying to deepen his voice, trying to summon the authority he used on her. It didn't land. He sounded more confused than commanding. "I'm acting exactly how I feel." "Well, you don't feel like yourself." "I know." That answer hit him like a slap he hadn't expected. His breath hitched. His gaze flicked over me, my posture, my stare, the complete absence of fear. He couldn't explain it, and people like him hated what they couldn't explain. "What's wrong with you today?" he demanded. I gave him a slow shrug. Maybe I finally woke up. His jaw clenched. "Are you trying to be clever?" I stepped closer, closing the distance he'd created. "One question," I said softly. "Do you remember what you did to me last night?" His eyes darted away. "Don't play games," he muttered. "I'm not." Another step. Now he had no room to back up. "I just want to know," I continued, lowering my voice to a whisper, "if the man who did those things is brave enough to face me today." His eyes widened, just a flicker, but enough to make my pulse steady. There it was. Fear. Not much, not enough, but the first trembling outline of it. He opened his mouth, ready to bark something back, but for once, his voice didn't come out. He wasn't facing Maya anymore, and his instincts knew it.
even if his brain hadn't caught up yet. The moment Dev's eyes flickered with that small, confused fear, something inside me, Tamara, not Maya, clicked into place. It was the shift I had been waiting for. The balance of power didn't tilt all at once. It moved slowly, like a heavy object finally giving way after years of being pushed in the same direction. I could almost hear that internal snap, the one that told me he doesn't know who he's dealing with anymore. And just like that, I felt my shoulders relax. I asked you a question, I said, keeping my voice low, steady, nothing like Maya's trembling softness. He blinked hard. Why are you talking to me like this? He demanded. Like what? I took another step, deliberately placing myself in the space he used to dominate. Directly, honestly, without shaking. He swallowed again, and I caught it, the second flicker of fear. Stop it, he muttered. Stop what? I asked, standing up straight, looking you in your eyes, using a full breath when I speak. His silence answered for him. I let the quiet stretch until it pressed against him like weight. Then I walked past him slowly, close enough for him to feel my presence the way Maya felt his. I didn't rush against him. I didn't flinch. I didn't break eye contact as I circled the room, reclaiming it inch by inch. Man, what is going on with you today? He asked again, this time with a nervous chuckle meant to cover his unease. I turned, planting myself directly in front of him. You don't like when your wife acts differently, do you? Messes with the little world you built in here. That's not, he started, but I cut him off. Do you think I'm scared of you today, Dev? He hesitated, and in that hesitation, he told me the truth. No, he stammered. No? I raised a brow. Then why won't you look at me properly? He straightened his spine and forced his eyes up. There, he snapped. Happy now? Not yet. His jaw tightened. Maya, you're seriously pushing it. You know I don't like? What? I asked. Confidence? He flinched. Not physically, but in that tiny internal way abusers do when they feel their grip loosening. I crossed my arms, leaning back against the counter. Tell me something, Dev. When you put your hands on me, what did you get out of it? He hardened. I never... Don't lie, I said. I'm not her today, and I'm not afraid to call things by their names. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. I said, I lowered my tone, what did you get out of hurting me? His eyes shifted, left, right, anywhere but me. See? I said quietly. You can't even say it out loud. His nostrils flared. You're really trying me. I'm really holding you accountable, I corrected. There's a difference. He started pacing, rubbing the back of his neck. You're acting crazy. No, I said. I'm acting like a woman who finally sees the truth. For real, Maya, I ain't with all this attitude today. You shouldn't want a version of me with no attitude, because that's the version you broke. He froze, and I let that line sit between us, raw, sharp, undeniable. You're not yourself, he murmured. I smiled at that. Maybe this is who I was supposed to be. He bristled. Maya, don't start. I said I was sorry about last night. Were you? Yes. I didn't hear an apology. I said, sorry, he barked louder. That wasn't an apology, I replied evenly. That was fear. Fear that I might finally say something back. Fear that I might not let it slide this time. Fear that you might be losing your hold. His eyes widened, and there it was, the fear that wasn't flickering anymore. This time, it settled. He don't know what's wrong with you, he said weakly. I moved toward him again, but slower this time, watching the tension crawl up his neck. I'm just talking. Why does that scare you so much? I'm not scared, but his voice cracked, and we both heard it. You know, I've been thinking a lot about vows. You never really honored yours, did you? Don't twist things, he snapped. You always do this. Make yourself a victim. I laughed, a deep, real laugh that threw him off. I don't need to make myself a victim, I said. You did that work for me. He clenched his fists. And that was when I knew I had him cornered. Not physically, but emotionally, mentally. He wanted to react the way he always did, but something about me today, my voice, my presence, my calm, held him still. You need help, he muttered. I need you to understand something, I said quietly, leaning in. Whatever you thought you knew about me, you don't know her anymore. His chest rose and fell faster. You hear me? I whispered. He didn't move, didn't blink. Good, because I wasn't done. And you don't know what's coming next. His face twisted. What is that supposed to mean? I smiled again, slow, sure, dangerous. You'll find out soon. Before he could respond, my phone buzzed on the table. His head jerked at the sound, confusion flickering through him again. He didn't know it was Maya messaging me. He didn't know she was waiting. He didn't know our plan was only beginning. And he definitely didn't know what we were about to take from him piece by piece. When I picked up the phone, he leaned forward slightly, trying to see the screen. I caught the movement and looked up sharply. Don't, I warned. He froze mid-step, his suspicion turning into something sharper. What are you hiding? He whispered. And just like that, the next stage began.
The second Dev whispered, "What are you hiding?" I felt the shift ripple through the room like a cold front sliding under a door. Suspicion was one thing, he lived on that. But genuine curiosity mixed with fear? That was new. That was dangerous, and I needed to use it. I locked my screen and placed the phone face down on the table. Nothing you need to worry about. His eyes narrowed. Since when do you tell me what I need to worry about? Since today, I said simply. He stared at me, long enough that I could practically hear the gears grinding in his head. I knew what he was thinking. Maya had never spoken to him this way, not even on her boldest days. She'd always been careful, measuring every breath before she released it. But me? I wasn't built like that. I wasn't raised to collapse under someone's shadow. You texting somebody? He asked, taking one slow step toward me. I tilted my head. Would it matter? He froze mid-step. Yes, he said tightly, it matters if my wife is keeping secrets. Oh, like the secrets you kept from her? His whole face twitched. I almost felt bad for the man. Almost. Don't start, he warned. I'm already started. Maya. Tamara, I corrected, watching his eyebrows knit in confusion. Maybe you should try calling me by my real self today. What does that even mean? He snapped. It means I'm done dimming myself to keep you calm. That landed differently. His mouth opened, then closed. For a moment, he actually looked lost, like he'd been handed a map written in a language he couldn't read. I don't like this version of you, he muttered. I laughed. I know. Men like you never do. He took another step toward me, slow and careful. Give me the phone. No, he said, and I said no. We stood there, tension coiling between us like a wire pulled too tight. He tried to stare me down, but the thing about people like Dev, their intimidation only worked on those who feared the strike. Once you stop fearing it, their power dissolves like sugar in water. Who's texting you? He asked again. What difference does it matter? I'm your husband. And yet, I said, you act like a warden. His jaw twitched hard. You better watch your mouth. Or what? I asked, stepping closer. What exactly are you going to do to me today, Dev?
His eyes flickered downward, looking for fear the way he always did. But he didn't find it, and the absence of it knocked him off balance. "You're trying to provoke me," he whispered. "No," I said. "I'm trying to show you the reflection you've forced your wife to live with." He blinked rapidly, like he couldn't wrap his mind around the way my voice cut through him. "What happened to you overnight?" he asked quietly. It wasn't overnight. I walked around him, slow but deliberate, circling him the way predators do prey that never learned they weren't the strongest in the room. "You're making stuff up," he whispered over his shoulder. "Am I?" He didn't turn around. I moved past him and stood in front of the window, looking out at the streetlights flickering across the complex. Maya and I grew up in neighborhoods just like this, where the walls were thin and the screams were thinner. She'd survived too much to let a man break her now, and I wasn't about to let him get the chance. My phone buzzed again. I didn't touch it. I didn't flinch. But Dev did. "What is going on?" he demanded, voice rising. "Something that doesn't involve you. Everything involving you involves me." I turned slowly, lifting my chin. "Not anymore." He blinked like I slapped him with words he wasn't ready to hear. A wounded look flashed across his face, small and quick, but real. Men like him didn't understand boundaries. They only understood ownership. "You're threatening to leave me." "No," I said. "I'm threatening to wake up." He stepped closer again, too close, and for the first time all day, I felt that familiar old heat rise in my chest. Not fear, readiness. "Move back," I said. He didn't. I didn't step away either. "You think you can just act new when I won't check you?" His voice shaking in ways he didn't expect. "You hit the wrong woman last night." His breath hitched. "Maya." "Stop calling me that," I said sharply. He stared at me like he was seeing a ghost. "Why are you talking like someone else? You ever consider the possibility there's a part of me you've never met?" "You sound like your sister." I smiled slowly. "Do I?" He froze. The color drained from his face. "Wait, where is she? She ain't been answering my calls." "Why do you care?" I asked. "Because it's not safe for her to just disappear like that." Ah, the guilt, the worry, the instability of someone who knows they've crossed lines that can't be uncrossed. "She's fine," I said evenly. "You saw her?" "Yes." "When?" "This morning." He stepped back instinctively. "And she didn't say nothing to me?" "She didn't need to." "What does that mean?" "It means," I walked toward him until we were inches apart, "she told the right person." His eyes widened. "Told you what?" The silence swelled between us. Then his phone buzzed this time, not mine. He flinched so hard it startled him. He looked at the screen and his face changed. He didn't show it to me, but whatever it was, whatever message popped up, it rattled him deep enough that his hand shook as he locked the phone again. "Who texted you?" I asked lightly. He didn't answer. His eyes lifted slowly to mine, and for the first time, there was no confusion, only fear. Real fear. "What did you do?" he whispered. I stepped closer, letting my voice drop to a dangerous softness. "Dev, this is only the beginning." Before he could say another word, a knock sounded at the front door. Sharp, hard, purposeful. He turned toward it quickly, eyes wide. "What is that?" He breathed. I smiled. "Your lesson." The knock on the door hit the room like a thunderclap. Dev stiffened so sharply I almost heard his spine lock. His eyes darted to me, waiting for a clue, waiting for an answer, waiting for something that would explain why his world suddenly felt like it was tilting under his feet. I didn't give him anything. Another knock came, harder this time, echoing through the apartment like a warning. Dev stepped backward. Who is that?" "Why don't you go find out?" I said, folding my arms. He didn't move. The great Dev, self-proclaimed king of his house, ruler of his wife's emotions, stood frozen, not out of caution, out of fear. His jaw tightened as he forced himself forward, each step slow and reluctant. He reached the door but didn't open it. Instead, he pressed his ear against it. "Who is it?" he called out, voice cracking. The hallway fell silent. Then, bang! A fist slammed so violently into the door that the wood shook. Dev jumped back, stumbling into the side table and knocking a picture frame onto the floor. His chest was rising and falling too fast, too shallow. "What the hell is going on?" he whispered. I leaned against the counter, calm as Sunday morning. "Open it." "Are you crazy?" he snapped. "Why? You scared?" No, I just don't know who that is." "Funny," I said. "Usually you only get this nervous when the person on the other side of the door is someone you don't want hearing you raise your voice." His face contorted. "Stop playing with me." "Then open the door." He stared at the door, then stared at me, then back at the door, breath coming in uneven bursts. For the first time since I'd stepped into Maya's place, I saw it clearly. Dev wasn't just controlling. He wasn't just manipulative. He was a coward, one who depended on fear to feel powerful. Without it, he was just a man with trembling hands. The knock came again, slower this time, measured, intentionally intimidating. Dev backed even farther away. "I'm calling the cops." "Oh," I asked, lifting a brow. "You want to explain the bruises on your wife's arms to them?" His teeth clenched. I stepped closer. "Open the door." He flinched, then turned reluctantly. With shaking fingers, he fumbled with the lock. His breath hitched as he cracked the door barely an inch, and a familiar voice said, low and steady, "Open the door all the way, Dev." He froze. His eyes widened a fraction before he swung the door open, revealing the last person he expected to see. Maya, standing right there, not bruised, not shaking, not broken. Her hair was pulled back, her shoulders were squared, and though she still looked fragile around the edges, there was something different in her eyes, something rising, something earned. Dev staggered backward like she'd slapped him. "Maya?" he whispered, his voice small. She stepped inside without waiting for him to invite her. "You didn't think I'd come back today, did you?" "No, I thought you were at your sister's." "She was," I answered from behind him. He spun around, eyes ping-ponging between the two of us, one standing strong in front of him, one standing stronger behind him. Maya met my gaze briefly, the smallest nod passing between us, invisible to anyone who wasn't a twin. "Why are y'all both here?" he asked, voice thinning. Maya didn't answer him. Instead, she walked past him slowly, her eyes scanning the apartment, her apartment, like she was reacquainting herself with a place she hadn't truly been allowed to inhabit. Dev stared at her. "You okay? Why you didn't answer my calls? I was worried." "Worried? About me?" "Yes," he insisted. "You left." "I left because you put your hands on me," she snapped. The truth sat heavy in the air. Dev swallowed hard. "I told you I was sorry." "No," Maya said. "You told me you expected me to get over it." He looked between us frantically. "What is this? Some kind of setup? Y'all trying to jump me or something?" I stepped closer. "Jump you? You think we need to lay a hand on you to make you fall apart? Look at yourself." He turned back to Maya, voice trembling. "Baby, let's just talk." "No," Maya said firmly. "Not this time." He froze, shocked. He'd never cut him off before, never spoken over him, never used the word no like it belonged to her. "This isn't a conversation," Maya continued. "This is accountability." Before Dev could speak, her phone dinged. He jolted. "What's that? Who's texting you?" Maya walked right past him, picked up her phone from the table and looked at the screen. "It's the bank," she said. "The bank?" Dev repeated. His voice cracked again. "Why is the bank contacting you?" She lifted her chin. "Because I reported a charge this morning." His entire face stiffened. "What charge?" "The one you thought I'd never find out about," Maya said. My breath caught slightly. This was the moment we'd been waiting for. "What are you talking about?" Dev asked, color draining from his cheeks. Maya held up her phone. "The $8,200 you transferred out of my savings last week." Dev stumbled backward as if the number punched him. I didn't, Maya, you're tripping. I didn't steal nothing." "Yes, you did," Maya said quietly. "And now the banknotes." He stared at her, then at me, then back at her, breath coming in uneven bursts. "You wouldn't," he whispered. "Oh, she would, and she did." His breathing turned shallow. "Maya, baby, you can't do this to me." She stepped closer, her voice steady. "Oh, Dev, you already did it to yourself." He looked like a man realizing he'd built his whole life on a trap he thought only she could fall into. Then, a loud knock hit the door again. Dev jerked around so fast he almost slipped. Maya and I both stared at him, unblinking. He whispered, "Who is that now?" Maya's voice was soft, but deadly.
The knock at the door didn't sound like the last one. It wasn't the furious pounding from before. It was deliberate, slow, heavy, and patient. The kind of knock that says, "I'm not going anywhere. Open this door." Dev's chest rose and fell so fast, I thought he might faint. He looked at the door, then at Maya, then at me, as if one of us would magically tell him everything was going to be okay. But nothing about today was okay. Not for him. "Why is somebody else here?" he whispered. Maya didn't move. "Open it." Dev shook his head violently. "No, y'all trying to set me up. I know what this is." "What is it?" "A trap." I stepped closer. "A trap will require us to hide something. Everything you're facing today is what you built." He backed into the wall, wiping his sweaty palms on his jeans. "Maya, baby, I said I was sorry. You don't gotta do all this." Maya stared at him with a calmness she never allowed herself to feel around him before. "Yes," she said softly, "I do." Another knock. 2 slow taps echoed through the apartment. Dev's voice cracked. "Who is that?" "Maybe you should see," I said. "No, y'all trying to set me up. I know what this is." "What is it?" "A trap." I stepped closer. "A trap would require us to hide something. Everything you're facing today is what you built." He backed into the wall, wiping his sweaty palms on his jeans. "Maya, baby, I said I was sorry. You don't gotta do all this." Maya stared at him with a calmness she never allowed herself to feel around him before. "Yes," she said softly, "I do." Another knock. 2 slow taps echoed through the apartment. Dev's voice cracked. "Who is that?" "Maybe you should see," I said. "No, y'all trying to set me up. I know what this is." "What is it?" He ran a shaking hand across his mouth, pacing in small, frantic circles. I noticed his eyes scanning for exits, for escape routes, anything. The same way Maya used to when she was trapped in here with him. "Maya, think about what you're doing," he pleaded. "You can't just bring people here and..." "Maya, Dev, stop talking." His mouth froze open. It was the first time she had ever said those words to him. He blinked rapidly, confused. "What?" "Stop." Her voice was quiet, but it sliced the air cleanly.
You spent years telling me when to speak. Today is not yours. He swallowed hard. You're really doing this? Yes, Maya said. I'm done being scared. The truth of that settled like dust over everything. Another knock, this time accompanied by a firm voice through the door. Mrs. Daniels, we're here for the wellness check you requested. Dev's skin went white. A wellness check? He stuttered. You call somebody on me? Maya's chin lifted. I reported domestic abuse this morning. His whole body jolted at the words. Maya, you can't, baby, you cannot do this to me, he pleaded, voice cracking. You gonna ruin everything. She looked at him almost sadly. You ruined everything when you thought I wouldn't fight back. He rushed toward her too fast, but I stepped in between them instantly, planting myself right in his path. He skidded to a stop, breath heaving, face twisting with frustration. Move, he hissed. No, I said calmly. Maya, tell him to move. Maya didn't move. She's not moving. His eyes darted wildly between us. Panic was setting in. Real panic. The kind that comes when a bully finally meets accountability. You can't call the police on me. You know what happens if I get locked up. My job, my record, everything gone. Maya's voice softened, but not with sympathy, with truth. You should have thought about that before you put your hands on me. He slammed his fist into the wall beside him, not close enough to hit anything, but close enough to show the anger rising up. You're trying to destroy me. No, Maya said. I'm trying to save myself. The knocking continued, patient, steady. Mrs. Daniels, please open the door so we can verify everyone's safety. Dev's breathing accelerated until he was almost hyperventilating. I can't go to jail. Maya, please don't open that door. Maya looked at him with the strength I'd never seen before. Not the strength of anger, but of survival. The knock at the door didn't sound like the last one. It wasn't the furious pounding from before. It was deliberate, slow, heavy, and patient. The kind of knock that says, I'm not going anywhere. Open this door. Dev's chest rose and fell so fast I thought he might faint. He looked at the door, then at Maya, then at me, as if one of us would magically tell him everything was going to be okay. But nothing about today was okay. Not for him. Why is somebody else here? He whispered. Maya didn't move. Open it. Dev shook his head violently. No, y'all trying to set me up. I know what this is. What is it? I asked. A trap. I stepped closer. A trap would require us to hide something. Everything you're facing today is what you built. He backed into the wall, wiping his sweaty palms on his jeans. Maya, baby, I said I was sorry. You don't gotta do all this. Maya stared at him with a calmness she'd never allowed herself to feel around him before. Yes, she said softly, I do. Another knock. 2 slow taps echoed through the apartment. Dev's voice cracked. Who's that? Maybe you should see, I said. No, he shook his head frantically. No, something ain't right. Y'all ain't telling me something. We don't have to. Your own actions are telling it for us. He ran a shaking hand across his mouth, pacing in small, frantic circles. I noticed his eyes scanning for exits, for escape routes, anything. The same way Maya used to when she was trapped in here with him. Maya, think about what you're doing. You can't just bring people here and... Dev, she interrupted softly, stop talking. His mouth froze open. It was the first time she had ever said those words to him. He blinked rapidly, confused. What? Stop. Her voice was quiet, but it sliced the air cleanly. You spent years telling me when to speak. Today is not yours. He swallowed hard. You're really doing this? Yes, Maya said. I'm done being scared. The truth of that settled like dust over everything. Another knock, this time accompanied by a firm voice through the door. Mrs. Daniels? We're here for the wellness check you requested. Dev's skin went white. Wellness check? You called somebody on me? Maya's chin lifted. I reported domestic abuse this morning. His whole body jolted at the words. Maya, you cannot do this to me, he pleaded, voice cracking. You gonna ruin everything. She looked at him almost sadly. You ruined everything when you thought I wouldn't fight back. He rushed toward her too fast, but I stepped between them instantly, planting myself right in his path. He skidded to a stop, breath heaving, face twisting with frustration. Move, he hissed. No, I said calmly. Maya, tell her to move. Maya didn't move. She's not moving. His eyes darted wildly between us. Panic was setting in. Real panic, the kind that comes when a bully finally meets accountability. You can't call the police on me, he whispered. You know what happens if I get locked up. My job, my record, everything, gone. Maya's voice softened, but not with sympathy, with truth. You should have thought about that before you put your hands on me. He slammed his fist into the wall beside him, not close enough to hit anything, but close enough to show the anger rising up. You're trying to destroy me. No, Maya said. I'm trying to save myself. The knocking continued, patient, steady. Mrs. Daniels, please respond so we can verify everyone's safety. Dev's breathing accelerated until he was almost hyperventilating. I can't go to jail. Maya, please don't open that door. Maya looked at him with a strength I'd never seen before. Not the strength of anger, but of survival. She stepped toward the door, each movement measured. Dev followed her, panic-stricken. Don't! Maya, I'll change. I swear I'll change. Just don't open. She kept walking. You're making a mistake, he shouted over her shoulder. No, I'm making a choice. She reached the door. Dev lunged. I grabbed his arm, hard, yanking him back so sharply he stumbled and fell against the sofa. He looked up at me, stunned. Let me go. No. His voice broke. Why are you doing this? I leaned down so he couldn't escape my eyes. Because you hurt my sister. And today, she gets to breathe again. He stared at me, chest heaving, sweat beading along his forehead. You don't understand. If I get arrested, my life is over. Funny, I said softly, because you were perfectly fine ending hers. Maya placed her hand on the lock. Dev's entire face collapsed. Maya, please, he whispered, voice barely holding itself together. She looked at him, really looked, then turned back to the door and unlocked it. As she began to pull it open, Dev shouted, lunging forward, just as the door swung wide. The officer stepped inside at that exact moment, blocking him. He froze mid-stride, eyes wide, breath stuck in his throat. Mr. Daniels? The first officer asked. Dev's voice cracked into a whimper, and Maya stood tall. Her hands didn't shake, her voice didn't tremble, and for the first time in years, she didn't look like prey. She looked like a woman reclaiming her life. Then the officer said something that made Dev's legs buckle slightly. We need to speak with you. And right then, everything Dev had built began to crumble. But he didn't even know the worst part yet, because this was only phase 1. Dev didn't move at first. He stood frozen between the couch and the officers, chest heaving, eyes wild.
like a trapped animal that suddenly realized the cage had been closing long before today. "Mr. Daniels," the first officer repeated, more firmly this time, "we need to ask you a few questions." Dev swallowed hard. About what?" "You were named in a domestic violence report. We need to verify everyone's safety." His jaw clenched. "That report is a lie." The second officer glanced at Maya. "Ma'am, are you Mrs. Daniels?" Maya nodded, her hands folded in front of her. "Yes, and nothing I reported was a lie." Dev spun toward her with a flash of betrayal. "You really gonna do this in front of them?" "Yes," she said simply. The officers exchanged a glance. "Sir, we're going to ask you to take a seat." Dev shook his head quickly. No, I'm not sitting nowhere. I didn't do anything. She's upset. She's overreacting. Sir," the officer interrupted, voice steady but firm. "Sit." Dev looked like he wanted to argue, but the officer's tone left no room for it. He sank onto the edge of the couch, elbows on his knees, fingers digging into his hair. Maya kept her distance, standing near me. I stepped slightly closer, just enough so he couldn't forget I was there. The officer turned to Maya. "Ma'am, can you tell us what happened that prompted your report?" Maya took a slow breath. "He hit me. Several times. Last night. And other times before that." Dev whipped his head up, eyes blazing. "That's not... Maya, what are you doing? You know it wasn't like that." She didn't look at him. The officer continued. "Are there visible injuries?" Maya lifted her hair from the left side of her face, revealing the fading bruise, then rolled up her sleeve to show the fresh marks on her wrist. The room went still. Dev slumped back, as if the sight punched the air out of him. The second officer nodded slowly. "We'll need photos for documentation." Maya gave a small nod. "Okay." Dev suddenly stood, pacing again. She's lying. She's lying because she's mad. That bruise is old, and I didn't even grip her wrist that hard." The first officer held up a hand. "Mr. Daniels, I'm going to need you to stop talking." "But she's twisting..." "Sit. Down." Dev obeyed this time, his voice dissolving into a miserable whimper. "This is insane." The officer turned back to Maya. "Ma'am, any prior incidents you'd like to report?" Maya hesitated. Her throat worked around the words she'd been swallowing for years. Then, slowly, "There were many, but I never felt safe reporting them." "Do you feel safe now?" She glanced at me, then back at the officer. "Yes." Dev shook his head so hard his hair fell across his forehead. "Safe? Safe? Maya, I never made you unsafe. Not really. I didn't mean..." "You did," Maya said quietly. "Even when you said you didn't." The officers wrote something down. Then the first one said, "Mr. Daniels, we're going to ask, were there any physical altercations last night?" He didn't answer. His face started twitching, panic spreading like a stain. I mean, I grabbed her arm, but only because she was trying to walk away while we were talking." "Talking?" I echoed, my voice flat. Dev glared at me. "Stay out of this." The officer looked up sharply. "Sir, you will not speak to anyone in a threatening tone in our presence. Understood?" Dev deflated. "Yes." Maya watched him with an expression that was hard to name. Dev didn't move at first. He stood frozen between the couch and the officers, chest heaving, eyes wild, like a trapped animal that suddenly realized the cage had been closing long before today. "Mr. Daniels," the first officer repeated, more firmly this time, "we need to ask you a few questions." His jaw clenched. "That report is a lie." The second officer glanced at Maya. "Ma'am, are you Mrs. Daniels?" Maya nodded, her hands folded in front of her. "Yes, and nothing I reported was a lie. Dev spun toward her with a flash of betrayal. You really gonna do this in front of them? Yes, she said simply. The officers exchanged a glance. Sir, we're going to ask you to take a seat. Dev shook his head quickly. No, I'm not sitting nowhere. I didn't do anything. She's upset, she's overreacting, Sir, the officer interrupted, voice steady but firm. Sit down. Dev looked like he wanted to argue, but the officer's tone left no room for it. He sank onto the edge of the couch, elbows on his knees, fingers digging into his hair. Maya kept her distance, standing near me. I stepped slightly closer, just enough so he couldn't forget I was there. The officer turned to Maya. Ma'am, can you tell us what happened that prompted your report? Maya took a slow breath. He hit me several times. Last night, and other times before that. Dev whipped his head up, eyes blazing. That's not... what are you doing? You know it wasn't like that. She didn't look at him. The officer continued. Are there visible injuries? Maya lifted her hair from the left side of her face, revealing the fading bruise, then rolled up her sleeve to show the fresh marks on her wrist. The room went still. Dev slumped back, as if the sight punched the air out of him. The second officer nodded slowly. We'll need photos for documentation. Maya gave a small nod. Okay. Dev suddenly stood, pacing again. She's lying! She's lying because she's mad. That bruise is old, and I didn't even grip her wrist that hard. The first officer held up a hand. Mr. Daniels, I'm going to need you to stop talking. But she's twisting. Sit. Down. Dev obeyed this time, his voice dissolving into a miserable whimper. This is insane! The officer turned back to Maya. Ma'am, can you tell us any prior incidents you'd like to report? Maya hesitated. Her throat worked around the words she'd been swallowing for years. Then slowly, there were many, but I never felt safe reporting them. Do you feel safe now? She glanced at me, then back at the officer. Yes, she said. Dev shook his head so hard his hair fell across his forehead. Safe? Safe? Maya, I never made you unsafe. Not really. I didn't mean... You did, Maya said quietly, even when you said you didn't. The officers wrote something down. Then the first one said, Mr. Daniels, we're going to ask if there were any physical altercations last night. He didn't answer. His face started twitching, panic spreading like a stain. I grabbed her arm, but only because she was trying to walk away while we were talking. Talking? I echoed, my voice flat. Dev glared at me. Stay out of this. The officer looked up sharply. Sir, you will not speak to anyone in a threatening tone in our presence. Understood? Dev deflated. Yes. Maya watched him with an expression that was hard to name. Not hatred, not anger, something calmer, sadder. Like she had finally realized the version of him she'd hoped he'd become had never actually existed. The second officer stepped forward a little bit. Mr. Daniels, at this time, we're going to ask you to come with us for further questioning. Dev's head jerked up. What? Questioning? You're taking me in? It's protocol. No, please, wait. Dev stumbled to his feet, hands raised as if they were about to shoot him. You can't take me in. I have a job. I have responsibilities. I can't have this on my record. The officer remained unmoved. Turn around, sir. Dev backed up until he hit the wall. Please, Maya, baby, tell them you overreacted. Tell them we can talk this out. I'll do whatever you want. Just don't let them take me. Maya's eyes glistened, but her voice didn't break. I'm not lying for you anymore. Dev's face contorted, like he'd been stabbed. Maya! Turn around, sir, the officer repeated. He looked at me then, as if I was the only one who could save him. You, he whispered, pointing at me with a shaking hand. You put all this poison in her head. She was fine until you showed up.
No, I said. She was quiet until I showed up. His mouth shut up. The officers approached him. Dev tried one more time, voice trembling, desperate. Maya, please, don't let them. Maya turned away. And that broke him more than the officers grabbing his wrists. He didn't fight, not physically, but his face did. Every emotion collapsing into a twisted, hollow defeat. The officers read him his rights. His voice cracked as they guided him toward the door. As they stepped into the hallway, Dev turned his head just enough to see Maya one last time. "Don't do this," he whispered. She didn't answer. The door closed behind him. Silence. Real silence. The kind Maya hadn't heard in years. Her knees buckled, and I caught her before she hit the floor. "I did it," she whispered into my shoulder. "Oh my God, I actually did it." "I did," I said, holding her.
But even as she cried, shoulders shaking with the weight finally leaving her body, there was something else in her voice. A trembling, a truth she hadn't spoken yet. She pulled back, wiping her eyes. "There's something I have to tell you." My heart tightened. "What?" She swallowed hard. "It's about last night." Her voice cracked. "And why he really snapped." For a moment, I couldn't breathe. The room felt too small, the air too tight, like the truth Maya was holding might split the walls apart. "Maya," I said softly, "whatever it is, just tell me." She sank onto the couch, wringing her hands. Dev didn't just snap because we argued. It wasn't just about me wanting space. It was about money. My stomach dropped. "Money?" She nodded. I sat beside her slowly. "What happened?" She looked down at her fingers that trembled even now. "He found out I moved $2,000 from our joint account into my personal savings. It wasn't even a secret. I told him I needed a small nest egg if anything ever happened. But he acted like I betrayed him." $2,000? That was all. $2,000 turned her life into a battlefield. "He blew up," she whispered, yelling, pacing, cursing, like I'd stolen a fortune from him. "And when I tried to walk away, he grabbed me. Hard, harder than he ever had. I thought he wasn't going to let go." I felt cold rage crawl up my spine. "I didn't call you because I was strong. I called you because I was scared he'd come back." Her voice cracked. "And I didn't want to die in that house." I pulled her into my arms, swallowing my anger so she wouldn't mistake it for judgment. "You're safe now. He won't touch you again." But the truth hit me then. This wasn't just about bruises. This was about the years he chipped away at her confidence, piece by piece, until she almost believed she deserved the pain. She wiped her eyes. "Do you think I was stupid for staying?" "No," I said instantly. "I think you were surviving, and I think you finally woke up." She let out a breath that sounded like surrender and rebirth at the same time. After a long silence, she spoke again. "What happens now?" "Now," I said gently, "now you rebuild, with help, with therapy, with people who love you, and without him." She nodded, tears rolling down her cheeks. "I want to be done. I want to be really, truly done." "You are." But we both knew healing wasn't instant. It wasn't a moment. It was a climb. And she was at the bottom, looking up a long mountain. I decided to stay with her the next few days. We cleaned out her room, packed what she would need, and left everything else behind. She said she wanted no reminders of him, not the wedding photos, not the matching mugs, not even the fancy blender he bought after one of his apologies. We left it all. That night, she slept in the guest room at my place while I kept watch from the living room, listening for every creak in the building, every passing car. My body was exhausted, but my mind refused to rest.
Around 3 a.m., Maya came out with a blanket wrapped around her shoulders. "You awake?" she whispered. "Yeah." She sat beside me, pulling her knees to her chest. "I keep thinking he's going to show up, banging on the door, angry." "He won't. The police made sure of that." She nodded slowly. "I know, but trauma lies." That sentence hit deep, because she wasn't wrong. Trauma didn't end when the abuser left. It echoed. "I'm proud of you," I murmured. Her voice shook. "I'm scared of starting over." "You won't be doing it alone." She leaned her head on my shoulder. "Thank you for everything. For stepping in, for switching places, for fighting back when I couldn't." That's what sisters do. The next morning, Maya made her official statement at the station. The officers gave her resources, counseling, legal support, shelters if she needed them. She declined the shelters. She had me. And for the first time in months, I saw a spark in her eyes, something small, something fragile, but something alive. Days turned into a week. Dev called from an unknown number. We didn't pick up. He tried messaging her, pages of apologies, manipulation, guilt-tripping, begging. She blocked him. He tried sending gifts to my building. We returned every box unopened. Eventually, his noise grew quiet, and Maya grew stronger. One morning, she walked into the kitchen wearing her natural curls out, her face free of the tension she had worn like armor. "I applied for a new job," she said, smiling shyly. I froze mid-pour. "You did?" "It's time. I can't let him take one more thing from me." She'd been working remotely for Dev's cousin's company for years, another piece of his control. She finally cut that tie. A month later, she got a better job, better pay, better hours, better benefits, and she started therapy twice a week. Most days she still cried. Most days she still shook when she heard loud voices. But every day, she healed a little more. And then came the moment I knew she was truly rising. We were sitting on my balcony, sipping tea, when she said, "I'm not ashamed anymore." I looked at her closely. Of what? Of being hurt, of staying, of leaving, of surviving. I'm not ashamed of any of it. She lifted her chin, shoulders back, sunlight hitting her face like blessing. "I want my life back." "You have it." But I knew what she meant. She didn't just want safety, she wanted joy, and she was finally ready to claim it. A few weeks later, we got notice that Dev would face charges. Maya read the email quietly, then exhaled. That's not my burden anymore. She wasn't seeking revenge. She wasn't seeking closure. She was seeking herself. And she found herself in the mirror, bruises fading, heart mending, strength returning. And on the night everything felt full circle, she hugged me tight and whispered, "Thank you for saving me." I hugged her back just as hard. "No," I whispered. "You saved yourself. I just held the flashlight while you walked out of the dark." She laughed softly. "Either way, I made it." And she did. She rose, she healed, she won. If you learned something new from my life story, please like this video, subscribe for more stories like mine, and comment down below where you're watching this video from. I'd truly love to know.